Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to Dirt and Iron. Today we are here with 10 times national champion Geoff Aaron. We're gonna ask him a couple of questions. Geoff, thanks for meeting us.
All good, happy to be here.
I wanted to know, how does one start with a trial? How did you start with the trial?
Well, when I was a little kid, I started to get interested in motorcycles. My father said that I should start on a trials bike because it had really low seat height, but it also had big tires to roll over obstacles. And he said that it was like the most technical sport. It was slow, but one of the hardest sports. So if you could learn how to ride trials slowly and balance, it teaches you balance and control. And so no matter what discipline you end up riding, it'll help you.
So how old were you when you started?
I started when I was about 12 years old.
Okay, was it a full-size bike or did they make it smaller?
The very first bike I ever rode was actually a Bultaco 350, but my very first bike was a Yamaha 175 Trials.
So you got your basic skills and everything on the trial bikes. Then did you go and get a dirt bike, and did you go jumping on a track, or what next did you do?
I grew up in New England and in Connecticut, and around where my house was, it was just rough. There was logs down on the trail, there was stream crossings, there was nothing really easy to ride. So the trials bike was actually a really good bike to go out and explore in the woods. And so I was interested in other dirt bikes and stuff, but they really weren't a good bike for where I lived. So there was really no tracks near me, and the trails that were near me were kind of hard trails. So the trials bike was a good bike to have. It's like the ultimate mountain bike.
You would transition from trials into a hard enduro or extreme enduro or Endurocross, right? So what would you say can you take all the skills you have from a trial and then just translate it into the other kind of riding, or how was the transition?
Well, definitely trials teaches you, like I said, balance and control, and I did it for so many years, so I challenged myself and just kept moving. I went from novice class all the way to expert to pro, and then did 20 years of national circuit riding. And I think just from working so hard at trials, it just taught me to be determined and to be confident, and then just also to be precise. And so when I started to play around with motocross bikes and enduro bikes, I already had that balance and control, and all I really needed to work on was my cornering, my jumping, and my speed, my starts and stuff like that. So it was easier for a trials rider, I think, that already has a skill base to learn how to go fast than it is for the other way around, for the motocross rider to go to trials and learn trials. So I felt like I just had a really solid base before I even started riding any motocross or enduro bikes.
So do you go today on a track and clear the triple step up and things like that?
I'm pretty conservative on the motocross bike, but I do like it, and I have gotten a lot better at it. So yeah, I jump a lot more, and my corner speed is a lot better. And Endurocross is really a mixture of the two. So it's some motocross and some trials. So it's the perfect sport for me. The original Endurocross was kind of a mixture. The idea was, let's get an enduro guy, a motocross guy, a trials guy, a flat track guy, and all put them on the same bike in the same arena and see what's going to happen. But I think that the trials riders have been the most well-rounded riders. They've been able to adapt to this speed easier than the motocross guys can adapt to the hard rocks and logs.
I want to get better in hard enduro too, in Endurocross. Jumping lags and doing slow wheelies and pivot turns, but it's not easy. So how can I step up my game? Do you think I should get one of these bikes?
I obviously came from the trials background. I think, if without the trials background, I would probably not be racing Endurocross or doing any Herzberg type events. But because of the trials background, it taught me so much about bike control that it spills over into these other disciplines. So yes, I think that if you cross-train on a trials bike, that'll definitely help with not only just Endurocross or extreme enduro, with really anything. It just teaches you to be a better rider. You have to be more precise. Think of like a skateboarder or a BMX rider. You have to land perfectly, or else you spit off, or you flip over the bars. The motocross bike is very forgiving. You could land a little short or go a little long, and it just gobbles it up. It doesn't matter. The trials bike motorcycle is kind of in between the two. So it's more forgiving than a bicycle, but it's not as forgiving as a motocross bike. So it forces you to be more precise. And then once you learn to ride that way and think that way, you can take those skills to the bigger bike, and it definitely will help you with your motocross and enduro riding.
Are you riding on the street as well?
I try to ride everything. You know, I like all types of motorcycling. So yes, I've done a bunch of road bike events. I've done all kinds of things over the years. You know, extreme enduros, regular enduros, trials. I've never tried flat track, which I someday maybe will try. But
It's like fun.
yeah, so definitely like all those different types of events.
You're pretty tall. You're like 6'4", right?
Yeah.
So when you're riding on a dirt bike, then are you using some kind of high bend handlebars or razor or something to make the ergonomics work for you?
Not really. I make small moves. Most of my adjustments are just minimal because the way I feel is that even though I'm tall, I also have long arms. So a lot of guys over-exaggerate. They say, "Oh, I'm tall. I need to raise the seat way up and I need to raise the bars way up." But I might opt to change it a little bit, but only small, because every time I've made a radical move on any bike, whether it's trials or motocross, I feel like I end up going a little bit backwards with my setup. You know, in theory it should work, but I feel like small adjustments are smarter.
What do you think? This bike is more a mountain bike on the steroids or a dirt bike on a diet?
A trials bike is its own animal. I mean, you've seen what they can do. I mean, I guess it's really more of a mountain bike nowadays because they've really downsized them. You know, it's smaller and lighter.
What's the weight of the bike now?
These bikes are less than 150 pounds.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, that's quite a bit different. Where a normal two-stroke dirt bike would be 225 pounds, something like that. So it's a pretty big difference.
What is more common? Is it two-stroke or four-stroke for competition?
There's both. I've stuck with the two-stroke because it's lighter and it actually makes more power, and the engine is also smaller, so it's just less bulky, just smaller bike altogether. The four-stroke makes good low-end power and is good for, like, I would say average intermediate riders for the most part, but they're a little heavier, a little slower, and just for me not as exciting for a pro or expert level.
Great. You have sons, right? You have two sons?
Yeah, I have two boys, 8 years old and almost 6 years old.
Are they on the bike yet?
Of course, yeah. They've learned on the little electric trials bikes.
Oh.
So they're really neat because you could turn the power down to nothing, teach them how to ride, and then as they get better, you give them more power. And it's really nice for parents because they don't have to change an air filter or change the oil because it's all electric.
That's cool, yeah.
So it's they were great learner bikes.
Well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Geoff.
Yeah, take care.